Yes, thank
Okay.
you everyone for your
Well, let's
patience.
jump in. I was just talking a little bit, very briefly, about how we're talking about emotional health today and how important it is the full picture of the fertility, um, yeah, the holisticness of the fertility experience. So why don't you tell us who you are, Mark, and a little bit about organic conceptions in a couple minutes, and then we'll jump into some more topics about emotional health.
Yeah, well, I love it. Someone just posted recently that they're thankful for Premom for acknowledging that there's another facet to this journey, and for those that are struggling. So, yeah, I guess real quick, yeah. So thank you for I think Premom for making space for the fact that there's human beings behind every journey, and there's a couple behind every journey, and sometimes life doesn't go as planned, and certainly it's a difficult time emotionally sometimes to make sense of what's happening. So, real quick introduction. My name is Marc Sherman. I founded a company called Organic Conceptions, and it was a result of my wife and I and our personal struggle trying to conceive for many, many years. We became the story, Terry, that you've heard way too many times at this point, of the story of the the story of the couple that tries for years, then they decide to go adopt a child. They miraculous have this surprise miracle baby. And I've always been very transparent in that those stories were always frustrating for my wife and I to hear. And then when we became it, not just once, but on two separate occasions, after years and years of struggling through, the uncertainty that comes every month when you go from hopeful to disappointment, and how that cycle really changes who you are, changes your relationship, changes your love and joy for life, and your trust really in your journey. But on two separate occasions, yeah, we had that surprise, unexpected conception. We became really more intrigued by what was really happening behind the scenes, because we tried everything for years. And then we did essentially decide to change our course, more of a mindset shift. And we had this surprise conception. So we partnered with a researcher, Dr. Kate Webster, and we became the first organization to go research all variations of those stories, to find out, are they really one-off instances that can't be explained, or perhaps is there more happening behind the scenes emotionally, psychologically, the way in which we're enduring this that can actually help to improve our chances for success? And I think the good news for anyone listening is that these stories were not one-off instances that couldn't be explained. There was these 9 psychological or emotional transitions that were common across all these stories. And I think that when people can work through something that is very emotional, many times, Terry, we're really just suppressing our thoughts. We're trying to stay strong and keep pushing through. And what was common about all these people in our research, people with PCOS and advanced age and all these different labels and identities we take on, but they had this natural surprise conception. And even though we can't suggest an outcome, Terry, what we do know is that your quality of life, the way that you think about yourself, your body, your ability to cope, and your trust and your willingness to still stay engaged with life, all those quality of life indicators that we measured, they change from very low levels to very high levels. And the people in our research had no idea there was going to be a surprise anything. But what happened is they got healthy internally with themselves and each other. And they started to really have a change in the way in which they were moving forward with their journey. So it's never to stop trying. But I think psychologically, this becomes a very emotional time for a lot of people. Even before we start trying, there's worry, there's anticipation, there's thoughts, there's expectations. And I think that, telling people to just relax or try not to stress, it's just unrealistic to think it's easier said than done. But when you can psychologically start to see where you are in these stages, and that you're not alone, and when we can give people the words and language to connect with things that just feels like raw emotion, they can now understand it, understand why we think that way. Then you give couples, women and couples, a choice, that there's a choice in how we interpret what's happening to us and the meaning we give it, and really the life we create around the struggle. Because for so many, and my wife and I,
Mm-hmm.
became just a way of being. So, yeah, so that's who we are. And we created a cognitive based course for women and couples, and it's changing people's lives. And I think, as you appreciate, Terry, we're physical beings for sure. And a lot of people spend a lot of attention on physically preparing our bodies, but we're emotional beings and spiritual beings. And it's not one or the other, but it's about how all those pieces work in unison. And I think for my wife and I, we spent many, many years just working on our physical health. and diets and all the different things that we did to physically make sure everything was where it needed to be. But there was nothing to ever address the uncertainty and the fear and the concern and the worry and even the dynamic as a couple as you're moving through something that's a difficult time.
And that's what's so great about your program. And there's so many great things about your program, but not only does it address some of those issues, but it's very structured, it's research-based, and it really it's like a coaching program. I have some coaching background, so I read through your program, and I remember when we first started talking to you, and I'm like, I recognize some of this stuff from what I was trained in. This is good stuff for anybody, but what's great is that it is this fertility niche that really helps those who you've said like feel really alone. They thought maybe they were going to get pregnant really fast because that's what they're always taught is going to happen. It's not happening. And so then all of these stresses and thoughts and negative affirmations start happening. And this program kind of helps them recognize and begin to unravel and refine themselves, is what I saw.
Refine themselves. Yeah. And give permission to actually feel. A lot of people are just trying to push through. We're told to stay strong and keep going and go, 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 go. And you know what's hard though? And even as I listen to this, it's when you want something so badly, it's hard to think sometimes that this stuff matters, and I only created this because it's like, gosh, we lost so many years of our lives where everything about what we did and what we ate and how we even intimacy, everything was called into question for so long. And just to know that we matter, but it's sometimes difficult to make that connection because when we're struggling with something, we're trying to make sense of it. We start to architect a story, a lot of times with a lot of false and limiting beliefs. And then we go searching and there's just thousands of things that we can attach to and labels and statistics and to actually think that the mindset actually can matter and make a difference. I understand how that might actually come across. And I just tell people all the time, like, I'm not going away because we saw people that were told they couldn't that did. Our bodies can sense danger. They know when we're in emergency mode. They know that, when things might not be right. That does not mean you have infertility. This does not mean it's yes, it might not happen on our timeline in relative to our expectations, but the way in which we interpret what's happening to us and how we then personalize it and then all the things that we do to try to control it, we just need to make sure. And in the course, as you know, we don't tell anyone what to do or not do. It's not the job. It's the intentions in which we're coming from and the decisions that we're making. And I really think that our bodies are smarter than we think. We're quick to kind of distrust them. And I think for years, we have 3 children all conceived naturally, and we lived almost a decade of struggling, 4.5 years with our son, another 3 years with our daughter. And then the third was happened almost immediately, which we didn't even think was possible. So there's just more to this story. But a lot of times our analytical minds kick in, and women tell me all the time, I just feel like I needed to control it. I'm not used to things not going the way I intended them to go. And this journey will soften us up. It's going to teach us some things. It's probably the tools and the gifts and the preparation a lot of us will need to continue to live lives and build our families and nurture our families and have, a perspective that we're not always.
I wanted to touch
control.
quickly on that mind-body connection, and then I know we've got some questions and comments, so I want to make sure we start.
Please.
But I just
good.
wanted to
please.
mention that I know you talked with one of our consultants, Monica, and she wrote that nice blog for us that connected to you. And I just keep thinking about that blog and that mind-body connection because, there's a lot going on out there in the world, let alone what's happening with our fertility and stresses about who's conceiving while we're not conceiving and what our family is thinking and all that. I've had my own stress and have noticed things from her blog. And so it's given me the evidence that this is so true. Like she talks about, for example, spotting in the second half of your cycle and how it's related to stress. So of course, me being in this industry, being exposed to all this great information from you and from Monica and from other consultants, I'm seeing the effects of things like stress on my body through my fertility cycle. So it's crazy how it's all connected.
Yeah, it is. She's great. And she was educating me because I'm not a doctor. I don't have, but I was just someone that became very curious about why everyone knows of the story of the miracle baby, but no one's ever gone deeper to emerge anything that can help in a time where we felt broken and damaged and less than, and our whole lives were, we felt just getting further and further behind our peer group. And Monica, and she's great. And that when you can actually see it on paper, we know that it does impact our adrenal glands, our cortisol levels, our hormone levels. I mean, so much research in neuroscience, and that there's such a connection here. I mean, if you were about to do a big presentation in front of 4,000 people, the way you're thinking, which is in your mind, absolutely starts to result in maybe feeling a little worried and panic and sweating. And I mean, the correlation is there, but again, sometimes difficult to appreciate that because there is so much out there that is telling us why it might be hard. We all know people that maybe struggled. We're told that as we get older, it will be harder. I mean, there's just so much that we can almost start to attach to that becomes the reason why. And that's what we need to overcome and fix. And I think above all of those things is this health of our mindset heading in the journey. A lot of people, before they even start, have told us, I was anticipating it. I knew I was a little older. I was on birth control for a while. I always wanted children, so I knew there might be a problem. There's some anticipation before we start. And then when we start, of course, we have this expectation on how it will go. But when our expectations collide with that month-to-month delay, we're interpreting this as, oh my gosh, something's wrong. And many times it's what's wrong with me.
I did see a question that did come in before the presentation from someone who was 38. Right. But she said she's trying to be really positive and wants to know as much as she can. So I hope she's on watching this now. And I'm going to go back a little bit and see what else, because I know we had a couple of things in here. Scroll. Watching. I think it was about staying positive. How do you stay? Can you see the comments too? Let's see.
I cannot see the comments.
Know that people are on. How do you stay positive while TTC? What do you think about it?
How to stay positive about... Yeah, it's tough for me to sum it up. The course is 7 hours. I tell people all the time, don't do it if you're looking just for a to-do item to conceive a baby. If you're willing to emotionally say, we're going to use this time to get better as individuals, better as a couple, to own the uniqueness of our own journey. It's not going to play out like your best friends or your neighbors as much as we maybe hope that it would. It's about really using this time to try to grow, because there's not a quick fix or answer. I think that as people move through the course, how do you stay positive? I think it's through, let's face it, it's the knowledge and experience that comes out of this research that becomes wisdom. Our ability to look at the way in which something is happening to us and reframe that to be something that is not what is happening to me, but what potentially is happening for me. I know that sounds so like cliche, but really there is just this change in the interpretation because we're too quick to count ourselves out, to take on an identity of being broken, to feel damaged, to feel like we're running out of time, we're in this race, and to then start to lose connection and intimacy and feel anger and jealousy for others that have children. So how do you change that? I guess the one thing I would say, I am so convinced we're so much more than what we think we are, and our bodies are so much more capable than what we think they're capable of. And as much as I hear all the time this idea of getting older and how that impacts egg and egg quality and whatnot, I'm not discounting that. Not a doctor. I'm sure the stats are there, but I would say the worry over age, the concern, the rumination, all the thoughts that just attach to us potentially have more of a negative impact than our older age. It's just like the worry about it was so, you can't help. Everyone's just feeling that. And if you feel like you're in a race, you're truly, every month that goes by, you're getting further and further away from success. That's just, I can't go to the grocery store worried or rushing. It's just, you can't make any good sense. You can't make good choices, and your body is really in that emergency and survival mindset. So how do you stay positive? I would just say at the highest level, we saw miracles, and we also saw people that when you open yourselves up to where your journey might take you, what does that mean? We're resisting it. We're trying to push this to happen. We want it to happen on our timelines, and everyone does. It's normal. We can actually take this moment back and use the wisdom and experience and knowledge from all others that lived years with the suffering and take that into our own journeys and open ourselves up. It's incredible where our journeys will take us. It'll be incredible. We never should lose sight of what we want, but to let go of the how. is really, really incredible. And there were so many people that found their ways to building their families in other facets that they believe was exactly the way their journey needed to be. And it still does not mean you still can't conceive on your own. But our ability to just say, this is bigger than just us. This is going to be our journey. It'll make us who we are. It'll change who we are. And it'll certainly change our perspective of when we do finally have our family. The people that struggle, when you work hard for something, there's just a wonderful appreciation that will never leave you. I'll tell you that.
Answer. There's that coaching gold, focusing on the what and not on the how. Love.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of us there's limiting beliefs. We got these thoughts. And a lot of people are alone. Let me tell you this. I just talked to a woman. Women a lot of times feel a lot of the weight. It's ultimately their bodies. They're trying to figure out what to do next. A lot of the things you do next impact them specifically. And a lot of women actually talk about feeling a little resentful, even of their partners, because this is all on them. And generally, the urgency of the woman is usually greater than that of their partner, certainly earlier on. So women might not feel even validated. And then I will tell you that, honestly, 2 days ago, I was on with a husband who didn't feel like he knew how to best support her because his wife was really driving this thing forward. And he said, I feel like in many ways I'm in the back seat and I'm trying to do my best to be there, but I'm not exactly sure my role. So I think what gets lost in this, you lose the fact that this is about a couple. It becomes mechanical things that we're just marching through. Life becomes robotic, intimacy becomes planned. And I think there's this connection with ourselves that we have to respect. And then there's this dynamic across the couple. And neither is right or wrong, but the way a woman is interpreting this is much different than that as their partner. But when you don't have a way in which you can communicate and understand each other and come together to find the united strength of trusting each other. And women, a woman recently, I said, what did it mean when your husband did the course with you? She was tearing up. She said, I felt so safe. And he said, looking back, this was just my obligation to hold my wife's hand, to go through this course as a chance to just get better as an individual, as a couple. And it's pretty special what happens. But I guess my point is a lot of times there's a deeper ownership on one end of the spectrum than the others. And if there's resentment and anger and we don't feel like we can really communicate our deep feelings, then that's just extra weight and stress and burden. And absolutely, it will impact our bodies. Our bodies will sense that danger.
Let's just take that for a moment, because I know this question comes up sometimes. So I know this course is designed ideally for a couple, but it could be just for one or the other, right? Could be partners of any sex, any combination. But how, if you do decide to do it as a couple with a partner, how does that work? Why is that so powerful? Can you just give a little bit more about how that works?
Yeah, I guess it's powerful in many just loving, caring ways of a couple. It's how a couple endures difficult times that will decide the true character of a couple. If things are always going well and things are great and life is progressing as planned, we get engaged and then married or however, and then the house and the cat. And then for many couples, this is their first real potential thing that's occurring in their life that's hard to deal with. And again, because there's just a difference in how a woman or a man is dealing with this thing, it's going to just start to potentially can change the dynamic of the couple. I've had some of the best doctors tell me that it's not about the end. And I know everyone is so focused on the end as we were. It's really the way this couple's enduring it together. And if they are not emotionally, if they're suppressing and just getting by, he said, even when they do have children, this shows back up in our relationships, our marriage, and even our health. So I think there's is there anything better to do when someone's dealing with something that's difficult than just to be there and to connect together and to have a great level of trust with each other? That connection. And then statistically, I'll tell you, in all the research that we did, one of the indicators that statistically changed was a reuniting of the couple. Meaning, and there's a lot of people saying, oh, no, things are good and we're supporting each other. But deep down, there's a deeper level of engagement in reuniting, in alignment, and really trust that we're gonna be okay. And there's this excitement to even move forward in life. Because most people, you're either trying or you're not. You're either trying or living. and they both can't coincide, and they can. That could actually be the answer for many, is that life continues to move forward. We need to have enthusiasm, a love, and ultimately this trust for something that, we potentially can't see at this moment. So I think there's so much I could say about this, because I think it is so quickly lost just because of the nature of the way we're trying to solve the problem. It becomes very much sperm and eggs and timing, and it's just easy to lose that connection. Our bodies even know when we want to be intimate. They know when we want to be connected, and there's just this natural chemistry that needs to occur. We need to enable it to occur, and the ability to feel close is when you feel safe and validated. And I think that, a course like this certainly helps. There might be other things as well. I don't care what they are, but we can't lose touch of each other.
Besides that time that they have together, and that safety of that acknowledgement and putting this effort together, it sounds like there's a coaching of communication as well, and how to be able to express what's going on, what they're experiencing, and to better communicate with each other during the process of living and trying at the same time.
You got it, Terry. I can't tell you how many times a woman would say, like, oh my gosh, my husband now knows I'm normal for the thoughts. It's validating that I'm not crazy for the way I'm feeling. And for a lot of men, it's also allowing them to get their lives back and their wives back, in that this time now does matter. And when we're socially isolating and feel that anger and the jealousy, and we really give up living because we're living to try. I mean, that's a tough way to live for people. So I think there's this, yes, when you give people the language and the words and the wisdom of all this stories to say, oh my gosh, that's something I thought was so abnormal that I was thinking or feeling or going through, it's been shared statistically by others. That alone is incredibly empowering. And this husband that I talked to, the one thing you can do is let this be the mental break from trying. Would never tell people to stop trying, but this is the mental break. Turn on a light, make it nice, light a candle, hold her hand, and let the program do its work. This is not a to-do item to conceive a baby. Take this time to say an hour a week, it's date night. We're going to actually connect and really try to leverage this time to better ourselves, and at the same time put our bodies in the best position for success. And for a lot of people who are thinking about the next choice relative to treatment, you have to be coming from that right place. Otherwise, I can't tell you how many people feel a lot of regret on decisions they made relative to treatment, that they look back on and said, I just felt rushed, forced, almost pressured into it. We got to get people to, there's an innate instinct that we all have. We have to, and as a couple, I think we got to get them to realize they matter in this formula more than many other things that they might pursue.
Right. Also just working through processing some of those decisions they are going to make or had to make related to the fertility journey and their options, working with them.
Yeah. Without telling someone what to do, but it's incredible when people come to us saying, I have the clarity now. I have the clarity, without telling someone what to do, because that's just not our job. Everyone's journey is unique. So everyone's path will take them where they need to be, but depending on how you are making the decision. Because here's the deal. When we are in a stressful mindset, we want answers. We want to be led. This is where we kind of give up control a lot of times to the experts, and we want fixes, and we want this to go away. And I think that we're quick to go on autopilot. And for a lot of people, it's until we stop and look up and look what life is like and what we're creating around us that we realize that we probably haven't put ourselves first, or trusted some of our instincts, or created some boundaries that make sense for you as a couple. So yeah, those are the things ultimately that people can accomplish.
Yeah,
Can't see any questions. Any questions coming in?
Wanted to share, it's not a question, but so emotional after 2 losses. It's been worse than ever. I know this comes up a lot in this group, and I feel like there are a lot of women, I know you've said there are a lot of women that can really benefit from this. You had that personal experience that I love turned into a passion, which turned into a mission when you realized that you weren't alone, that many people could benefit here.
Yeah. The biggest obstacle we have is that people are fatigued. You know how many people were throwing things at my wife and I to try to do, and everyone had their corresponding miracle statistic. And that's why we will tell people all the time, if this is just another action that you're going to do to plow through to try to get to that end result, then probably not your place. But your willingness just to say, I want to get better. there's something more here. I'm going to advance myself. This time now matters. And for so many, we get successes you would not believe what we get. It's just tough to dangle that, because also someone said recently, went through the course, they said they joined because when you suggest everything is about an outcome, about conceiving, the more stuff that we do that doesn't work, it's just a list of failures, which is a reminder of all the things that I've tried that haven't worked. So this is, it can't be that. We just can't be in that category. We're not going to suggest that. But for the woman that responded, I'm so sorry to hear that. Miscarriages, about 40% of the people that we researched had miscarriages. And it's a whole nother layer or facet of emotional support that's needed there, to how to get yourself back on your feet when it's time and when it's ready. And how do you process what you went through, and to get yourself back on some solid footing before you move forward. That's hard too. Is very difficult.
We did have a couple of questions that were outside of organic conceptions in our class. So if we don't answer them, it's a good one for a future video. So please just ask again. We can maybe address it in one of our other videos. I know someone asked about a supplement, also about the app. Before we go into the class, Marc, is there anything else you want to talk about as far as common thinking patterns and mindset when you're TTC? I think we kind of talked about that already, but anything else? And also, anything else about preparing our minds for conception? I think we touched on this, but just any follow-up thoughts on that?
No, I guess the only follow-up I thought I would have, and someone had recently said this to me about preparing our bodies, and think about all the things that we do to prepare our bodies. Or if you stepped out of fertility and you just thought about preparing yourself for a marathon, you'd physically prepare. But there's a whole nother mental facet here. And the sad thing is, I think for a lot of us, and probably my wife and I too, when we thought about things like emotional health, you sometimes leap to say, that's like therapy. That's like, now we're okay. We don't need therapy. That's when things are really bad. There's a stigma sometimes. And we're really seeing emotional health as like this nice to have, take a bubble bath, relax. And it's not something that's critical. and there is a stigma. And I our goal is to try to, this is a proactive step that you do. This isn't a step that you do because, if you're depressed, go see a therapist, truly, really get the support. But this is about how do we prepare our minds, knowing that within just a few months, that early concern and worry starts. This is where the conception of doubt sets in. And before long, we've architected that story. We believe something is wrong. We lose patience, take on the patient mentality, all the obsessions, all the searching, all the things that we do in our lifestyles. And I just think that it is an emotionally heavily, deeply charged area. So how do we make sure our minds are in the best place, knowing that this might not go exactly as planned? But this doesn't mean that we're not capable or possible. And doesn't mean people still don't need extra support, and that there's doctors to help support them. But we got to be as centered and grounded and connected as a couple as possible. So that would be my last point on that. Preparing for the marathon, we prepare our minds and bodies. And I could not run a marathon, by the way, physically or mentally. Maybe mentally.
I'm with you there. So let's talk about the class then. Just a little bit about what it is structurally, and then what's special about what Premom is doing at the organic exceptions, because it's going to be a little bit different than the normal the course that you do.
Yeah. Well, first of all, honestly, and I'm not trying to plug it, but you guys have been great. I know your founder and all this good stuff. So it's number one, we have significantly reduced the price for this class just for Premom. I mean, if you go to our website, people joining all the time, it's 3 times what you're looking at. So our goal, Terry, as you know, is to do our first class with Premom and really let the Premom audience help us continue to get better and continue to make sure that emotional health is part of this discussion. And we're not just pretending it's not there. It's the elephant in the room. So we're excited about the class. And the beauty about the class is this 7-hour course that we created with Dr. Kate Webster. And this course has been accredited by universities. We have a training program for doctors and nurses to help them understand what couples are going through. So this is truly the psychological journey that couples are going through. And it's so empowering for the couple. And it's also important that caretakers understand it in a deeper way so we could better connect with couples, right? But the point is, the class that we're doing is a mix between both. Is that we're going to have our kickoff class next week, get everyone in that right mindset to start the class, and then we unlock part of the modules that they can listen to online or on their phone, and then they will go through a certain section of the program, and then we come back on 2 weeks later to discuss it as a group. The group piece is incredibly important because what they're learning going through the work is at home as a couple, hopefully, and then coming together, discuss it and share it. And we're constantly getting new stories, and we interview people that complete our course all the time, and they have greater insight. So we're able to like package up additional messaging and content and learnings in addition to what couples are going through. So in every 2 weeks, there's this process of unlocking the course and then coming together as a group. So there's 4 live classes that really wrap up the entire 7-hour course. And it's just a great hybrid because you can't take away what the couple needs to do. They have to stop. They have to pause. They have to have this discussion or have the conversation. Or for many, there was a woman told me that her and her husband would drive around. They would just listen. And then there's times they would stop and look at each other or giggle or connect. You can't, there's no way of removing that piece of it. So it's a mix. It's a mix between they still need to do the course. It's great for them. Call that date night. We come together with the 4 sessions. In 60 days, we're moving people to be in a place that I believe their quality of life indicators will be at levels at a higher level will be our goal to enable their bodies to have the best chances for success, whether that's naturally or someone that might be
so they'll have
treatment.
access to the content when it's unlocked, and they'll come together as a community with you, right? Can you talk a little bit about those live sessions, how that will look?
It's me, Terry. These poor people it's me and Kelly Stryker, who's a licensed social worker who dealt with fertility. She's part of my team. She's just as passionate as I am. My wife does a lot of one-on-one work with couples. But yeah, it's us coming together. There's some videos that I bring of couples that I've interviewed where we can start to hear their voices and talk about them. But we essentially try to recap what we learned. But we're trying to leverage the community effect. Every voice matters. Every aha moment. A woman recently said, I didn't realize how much this struggle became my identity. She actually said she started to feel like safe and comfortable behind the anger and the jealousy and the obsessive behavior. And she came to that reflection herself. How brave, how courageous. And her ability to share that forward. Know how many other people nodded? Saying, gosh, I'm kind of heading into that path itself. So I will never have every right answer. This is too complex. It's really the community of others that can speak up, that can share. And there's times we see, couples together, doing this together. And I just think the more we have that permission and we have a language and a vocabulary to express things that just felt like chaos, like a free fall, the group will be stronger together individually. So it's my job to help facilitate that discussion, as well as everything that Kelly and I learned working with hundreds and hundreds of people.
I know that's something that you've been really excited about. I think it's neat the way this is going to be more of a guided way of going about the course. I know there's also the option to just kind of do it all at once, whatever pace. But I know for me personally, when I've sometimes ordered a coaching program or some kind of program, I'll do it for a little bit and then I'll get overwhelmed and things come up. So it's nice to have that accountability and that community where you're breaking it down and going over it together is what it sounds like.
Yeah. Terry, I like what you said, though. I think it's a very personal subject. Not everyone wants to jump on the phone with a bunch of people. And that's why in this course, we also unlock the program for another 6 months. So they essentially can do that on their own. But yeah, on our website, we have seen that there's 3 different kind of learning styles. We have some people that just self-paced on their own. They got this. And we're there. Every single person that joins, they have someone that looks after them. We literally have someone that's assigned to them to make sure we got your back. Any questions, any thoughts, anything that they need help with, we're there. Then there's some people that like the structure of a start, middle, end class. Like it's going to hold me accountable. All right, I'm just going to do this. I need that date. And that's what we're doing here. And then some people actually want someone to do it one-on-one with them. And we offer all 3. And there's not a right or wrong. It's about what really just fits best based on where a couple's at.
I don't think I saw any further questions. I know we do have a link that I'm going to make sure is posted after we post this video. that will lead you right to the sign up and further information about the class. Why don't you just give some details about when it's starting and how long and things like that?
Yeah, the live classes will start Tuesday. So Tuesday evening, we'll kick off our first live class. Every live class will be recorded. So if someone's not there on the live class, in their members area, when they're seeing access to the whole course, they would be able to listen to the live event that happened. And the live events are generally in the hour to hour and 15-minute range. I mean, if there's a dialogue happening, we're going to stay on as long as people want to stay on. But that will be the kickoff. We will then, at the end of that call, truly unlock the set of modules. You give the couple a couple weeks to do it. What's very unique that we've just added recently is we have part of our platform enables there to be a community discussion. So as people are completing our program, they're posting, they're commenting, they're adding value, they're inspiring each other. And, we try to do that in the live class sessions, but it's actually happening in the background as well within the community. So everyone will kick it off together. Everyone will get the class, the modules unlocked. They'll have the community piece there for them to share and communicate as they go. And then we also have this wonderful Premom in Organic Conception, this workbook and journal kit. If you don't mind me, just there's the option for people to get this nice kit. And this is about really taking this time to take what we're learning and how do we apply it, and to have a place that's safe. The workbook is incredible. It's the pages you can put notes, you can comment. Some people just like to physically touch something, underline something, add their thoughts to it. And we have this kit available for those that want the course material. So yeah,
they're the two options,
the basis.
Right? Just the digital, and then they can also
two options. Exactly. Yes. Exactly. Everyone will get the digital workbook. We don't hold anything back. Everyone gets everything that they need. Those that want to physically have something in their hands to journal in and to, reflect and outline as they move forward.
And again, it's a wonderful program. I think if I'm remembering correctly, kind of looks like this in there. It kind of reminds me of the game of life. Brings you. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah. Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, there's the 9 stages, the psychological transitions that were common across. And I will tell you, Dr. Kay Webster, if she was on, when we first did the research, she said there might not be anything common across these stories. They truly might not be anything statistically that would be common, and every story would map to this. It was such redundancy. You're looking at this and you're going, oh my gosh, there's just this common journey, but most people feel so alone for what they're going through. And that's a dark place. That's a lot of weight to have. You can free them, unlock them. You bring your body to its best potential, regardless of the outcome and where it takes us. So yeah, it's that's essentially what the course will walk through. Each of these psychological transitions become a module, and they certainly together become,
Great.
a discussion.
So can you talk a little bit about who out there might be a good fit for this program? I know you said sometimes it's not a straightforward thing, but maybe some things that have come up in testimonials. I know you hear key phrases a lot that are good indicators. Can you share some?
Yeah, I think it's okay. Some people might just be still in that mindset of like, just still charging forward. I still, they're not there yet. And that's okay. I know, we just don't want people unless they're really saying, I'm just starting to feel like this is getting to me. It's the best way to assess it is just being honest. I just had this question recently, literally just a couple of days ago in an interview, and it's just an honest assessment, because a lot of times we're not really thinking about how we're thinking, and we've been told just to stay strong and keep pushing. It's kind of the societal mentality, if you will. So when someone stops and says, how am I doing? Am I vacillating from hope to despair? Do I feel angry and jealousy? Am I feeling inferior to others that have children? Have I lost a little connection and intimacy? Do I feel like socially not feeling like I want to be around people as much? Do I feel like I can't move forward becomes common. I feel like I'm stuck. Life's on hold. I can't be happy now. I'll get to that when we have the baby. I'll get there. So I think it's just honestly, we did on our website, and people feel free, it's free. We created an emotional health assessment, and we're using that to help tell people when it is a good fit and when it's not. Because if it's not, it doesn't mean 3 months later, someone has a tough time and they say, I think I need your help. You just do the right thing for people. And on the website, the people literally answer questions like some that I just shared. And based on how they answer, it actually scores them around their mind body. There's questions specifically to how our thoughts might start to be impacting our bodies. There's questions around our emotional state. There's questions about relationships, relational, and there's a question around social. And it's actually a quality of life assessment that was done from the University of, I forget the name, but a bunch of doctors. It's a validated quality of life study that was done for people struggling to conceive. And based on how people answer these questions, we do our best to give a very honest assessment whether we think the program would be a good fit. And for some people, they're in good shape and they're okay. And that's okay to tell someone that. Others, once they actually take a moment to think about these questions, they realize, yes, I didn't realize how much of this I am holding on to and how much it is potentially weighing on me. And I think a lot of us are open to saying, gosh, is that going to be the best thing for my body and for my ability to make good decisions moving forward? A lot of doctors say this should be the first step before we start to head down all the different paths that we can consider. So the website, free, do the assessment. We'll provide.
Is there a link to that assessment? I think you've talked about this before, but is there a direct link I could share? Maybe add that. Absolutely. Yep. Let me send that to you and send it away. And we give us 48 hours. Every assessment we truly look at, we truly score. And we even try to personalize our response to you. So give us a chance to get those back to you. There you go. So fill it out today. Every single one of them. Because the class is next. Fill it out today. Almost here. It's almost week. Starting. Yeah. Now, do they need to register by a certain time? Any last details? Yeah, I mean, I think it'd be nice by Monday at the latest. We want to wrap things up and get this class to make sure that everyone gets all the logistics and the details and ready to roll. So yeah, it would be great by Monday. If something happens where someone has to do it Tuesday, then we'll accommodate. We're not going to leave anyone behind, but yeah. Okay, so Monday, we'll have those links in the description so that you can get right to what you need right away and act now because it's starting next week. I said Tuesday. Can't believe it's here already. Tuesday. I know. Easy when we're talking about it a month ago. I put a mental note and then I forgot. I just wanted to mention that someone had said gratitude and law of attraction. So that was neat. That all ties into what you're talking about too. I think that's something that can come organically out of the program, depending on how their journey goes. So. No, I think for a lot of people, they actually come back and say this was more of a life course. Definitely helped us gain the clarity and confidence and a deeper connection on our journey. But this is something that we'll hold on to forever because let's face it, uncertain times are going to continue to be part of all our lives and there'll be good times and bad times, but it's how we really endure. And I think a lot of the principles and concepts that we learn through people who struggled for many, many years can be applied to many other facets of life. So, okay. So thank you for sharing and for those questions. And of course, thank you, Marc, for joining us today. Yes, no, it's a pleasure. Anytime. Yeah, we're so excited to launch this. So I hope you'll click on those links and participate if it sounds like this is something that makes sense to help you. Again, we have that assessment we're going to include. So if you're not sure, you can check that out, give you a better idea. But it is coming up in a few days, so act fast. Yes, we'd love to see you. Thank you, Marc. Thank you, Terry. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll see you soon. You too. Thank you.